Good morning, Steve here. I'm going to see if this is something that you'll be able to read. It's interesting how it's coming out all kind of rainbow colored, but well, let's see if it'll change. Oh, maybe that was the light coming off. Okay, let's try this again. So Life Reflections, and I'm going to read it to you, but that's in case you want to pause and read it to yourself before the rainbow lights leave it. Okay. So I'm going to read it to you. I think I said Steve here. Life Reflections. When sensations of pain arise in me, how do I respond? When feelings of peace and contentment arise in me, how do I respond? Which do I attend to more? As I look at the day or the week ahead, have I left time to pause, time for stillness, time to breathe, time to not do? I have many very dear friends. And I have a very dear friend who has taken, rather than writing words, has taken to sending me a picture of a flower or flowers just as an offering. We tend to text message each other most every day with just the initials GML, or she sends to me GMS, and it's Good Morning Steve, or Good Afternoon Steve, or Good Evening Steve. And oftentimes in the morning send a really beautiful picture of a flower. So I ended up taking a whole bunch of pictures of a flower, and I've been sending them to her. And so I was looking through my pictures to send her one of my flower pictures, and I came across those words, and I thought, oh, I'm going to send those. And I did, and I thought about them including in this morning's tarot reading. But just prior to this morning's tarot reading, I did a reading from the book Attuned by Thomas Hubel. And it was about stillness. And it was about yogic practices of lying still. I think it's called the corpse position. That's oftentimes done after the end of a yoga class that may have been somewhat vigorous. And then it's just letting go of the mind and just focusing on the breath and letting go of all the thoughts and all the stuff and just giving the body time to feel some spaciousness. And I've been feeling like I've become much more aware of spaciousness. And even just a few days ago, my wife and I were had taken the ferry across to Port Townsend on the Olympic Peninsula and just walked through town. And I kept remarking to her how big everything looked to me. Something had expanded in my perception. So yesterday, my wife and I had talked about this for some time, about getting some of the branches taken out of some of the evergreen trees that surround the front of surround our whole house. And they had really, over the period of the last 12 years, had really taken our view of the Olympic Mountains and the Admiralty Inlet down to about that. Like all the branches were just, I'm trying to figure out, like, yeah, I want to, yeah. But anyway, I'd taken it down to a triangle. And there was just like this little picture with the water and the mountains and the little clouds and everything. But we wanted to just open that up a bit. And then as we did so, we are working with a wonderful tree company called Henry Tree Service. In case you're a Whidbey Island resident and you want amazingly conscious people to be working with your trees. Amazing. But as we worked with it, we were able to direct what branches were removed, and the space just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And we realized there was nothing blocking our view of the whole land mass across the water from us. And as that view was opened up, it opened up the sky. And it was just like, oh my goodness, the sky's really big. And this all occurred yesterday. Now, the results of doing that took a little adjusting to how much brighter it is. I'm not using a light today because there's just so much light coming into the house based on the fact we're not in the shade. And I'll just say that yesterday was a very difficult day to work with. The tree people were arriving at 7:30 in the morning, and at 6:45, 6:45, my wife informed me that she had decided not to do some of the things that we had already contracted to have done. And my response was, do you think you could have brought this up a little bit prior to 45 minutes before the people arriving? So anyway, there was some energetics related to it. I had stuff come up. I pulled a tarot card, and I thought of it as a world tarot card, but I didn't have time to do a reading, so I'm doing you yesterday's tarot card that you can take for today. It was for yesterday, but you can see, oh, yeah, I was really working with that yesterday, and then I'll do the tarot card for today. So the tarot card for yesterday was the Magician, which is the one of trumps, the first of the major arcana, unless you include the Fool, which is 0, which is not a number. It's a lack of number. But anyway, the Fool is 0, and then the first is the Magician. And it represents the universal principle of communication and timing. So this is what I got after this communication was presented to me, and I felt like the timing was bad. Oh, my stuff came up. Imagine that. Imagine your stuff coming up. I mean, how often does that happen? Okay. So the golden figure of Mercury, the winged messenger from Greek mythology, represents communication that is inspired, resilient, and well-timed. So when it isn't, you can just go, well, that isn't very well-timed. You can do anything you want with it. You can just go, what? Or you can just take it inside and process it inside. I mean, the energy's still there, but it's not spurting out from you. This symbol represents an individual's capacity to communicate equally well in both oral and written communication, the floating book. The Magician is surrounded by 10 tools, 10 communication tools, each of which is the magician's way of picking the appropriate tool or tools for communication that would best serve a particular context. So here are the tools. The first is the coin, which represents the ability to communicate in ways that can assist finances and practical endeavors. 2, the floating cherub. The lighted lantern represents communication which, like Aladdin's lamp, inspires or evokes the genii, or genius, within one's communication and nature. 3, the ibis or phoenix wand is the magician's hand. In the magician's hand is a symbol of being able to communicate from a philosophical, religious, or spiritual base. 4, the arrow moving towards the winged eye of Horus represents direct and honest communication which is well-timed. 5, the winged eye of Horus with the dove within it is a symbol of inspired vision which isn't articulated. 6, the floating scroll or book is the power of communication that is written. 7, the winged egg reminds us that all communication is prompted from our essence, the wings, and is constantly being reformed and delivered, the egg. 8, the cup with the coiled serpent represents the transformed power, and I can't remember if I did this, but I'm going to do it now. There it is. The Magus, or the magician. See the one at the top. 8 is the cup with the coiled serpent represents the transformative power to communicate the range of one's feelings, or the cup. The sword symbolizes the ability to articulate ideas and thoughts clearly and succinctly. And 10, the golden monkey represents the Egyptian god of wisdom, Thoth, who transforms himself into a golden monkey to demonstrate that in communication we must be flexible and aware of all communication lines that we have executed personally and professionally. The double serpents rising from Mercury's heads are another rendition of Mercury's staff of communication, which depicts the power of communication that is balanced, healing, and transformative. Many wonderful things came out of this communication and this working with these energies and this coming to a place of some resolution so that the process could take place and the end result is more light. That was yesterday's reading given to today, and you can take it today. Good communication is always a good idea, and staying present and within oneself and keeping the flow of energy going, not necessarily barfing on the other, but sometimes when we got just a lot of stuff coming up as a result of communication, it may be time to step outside of oneself and watch oneself let go of all that energy of the past, which is obviously triggered from some unresolved past thing. Bring the story, bring the emotions, separate them, let go of the emotions. Release the story, come into the present. Now must go. Love you very much.